Hi there, Honey Bunnies. Susan McGarry here, and you know I'm always looking for unique ways to display our glass rather than just the traditional bale. And I saw somebody, kind of a celebrity, somebody on TV who was wearing a pair of earrings kind of similar to this, and maybe a little bit smaller. It looks something like this. And, you know, bonus points if you know who it was. You can post it in the comments below. But I saw somebody wearing a pair of earrings, super cute, and I thought, boy, wouldn't that look great with a little piece of glass right there. So I went to the craft store and got this bag of leather. And it's just leather scraps. Probably cost me about $5 for this giant bag. So it came with different types and colors of suede. And then I also had in my own little stash some of this more stiff leather. You know, you can make different crafts with it, and then you maybe stain it and things like that. Well, so I thought I'd play around with them and see what I come up with, and this is what I came up with. So these right here were made with the stiffer leather, also this one up here. And this set and this one were made with the more flexible, soft, sort of supple suede. So I don't know if you can tell on camera. This one's a very medium brown. This is a very dark brown. And so I played around with them, and I actually like both of them for different reasons. But let me show you real quickly how I did this. The first thing I needed was a leaf shape. So I made these two little leaf shapes, and this one ended up being a really good size for an earring, and this one ended up being a really good size for a pendant. This one is about 2 inches long by 1.1 inches, and this bigger one is about 2.5 inches long by 1.3 inches. And to get a really good pattern, I kind of sketched out an idea of what I wanted and then folded it and cut so that it was symmetrical. Did the same with this one. See that little bit of a point up there? It's not pointy, but a little bit of a, you don't want it too flat. And the reason is when you go to pinch it, you need something to make a hole in. So I needed a little bit of a tip almost. I hope that makes sense. Just a little bit of a gradual up. And the reason I say that is I made one, the first one, with this kind of flat, and when I went to do it, it just didn't give it the right shape. So I'm really happy with these shapes. Then the next step is to trace it onto the suede or the leather. And all I do is place it on the suede and draw with a pencil a very faint line. Now you could take your glass, whatever glass piece you're going to put in there, and you could glue it in now. But what I found was if I glued it in ahead of time, I never knew where it was going to end up looking best once I folded this in. So what I found was I like so much better to make the pinch first and then later glue in my glass cabochon, whatever I happen to choose. So the best way I found to do this is to take some E6000. I put a little dot right there at the top, not much, doesn't take much. Pinch it. Now look at it and say, does that look about even? Is that a good look? Yeah, I like it. Then I take this little clamp and I put it on there. And it doesn't take but maybe 20 or 30 minutes at the most, at the very most, to have that glued enough that we can move on. Now you don't have to glue it, but it'll end up like this. See how I can see that little ring in there? It's not held together tight, so it doesn't give it that nice curl. So I prefer to have it like this, where it's glued shut at the top. It's got the little jump ring. So that ended up being my favorite way to do it, and that means doing this. All right, now that I know how it's going to curl and how it's going to lay, I can pick which cabochon I want to put in there. I think this one's a little too dark. We won't use that one. This one, actually that one might look pretty nice. Let's see what these look like. I like that a lot. I don't think it's quite big enough. Oh, I think this one is perfect. Yeah, I'm going to use this one. See if you can see that. Yeah, I think that's going to be great. So again, I'm going to use my E6000. I just put a little dollop on the back. I don't want to put too much. And the reason is it oozes out around the sides of it, and it shows on your suede or leather. So you just want to get it in place and leave it there. Okay, that has to dry maybe 20 or 30 minutes, right? And then we'll come back and finish it off. The next one I'll do is this one. And just because I'm doing it on camera, I'm going to use the big one again. It's a little harder to do the small one, a little more fidgety. So just know that it's the same process, just a little more fidgety. Going to draw with my pencil again. And again, you don't have to draw the outline with your pencil if you can hold the pattern while you're cutting. I just found it was a little too hard. Sorry, kind of hard to see. And you can score it. There's little sharp tools you can use that will score it so you don't have to use a pencil. Because pretty much that's what my lead is doing, is scoring it. So let me show you something that I decided to do on one of the last ones I made. This was the last one I made. And what I decided was to make a little tab, just a little tiny tab, like that. Now let me cut this out with my shears, my little kitchen scissors. Okay, so the biggest difference between this leather and this one is if you get this wet, you can shape it into any shape you want. So I'm going to take a little cup of water, wet the leather. It can be a lot wet or a little wet. You just want to be able to manipulate it easily, and the water will do that, and then the leather has a memory, and it will stay in the way that you shape it. So I'm going to take a little clamp again. I'm going to pinch it, and I pinch it so that it's pretty even. See how I'm kind of right in the middle. Now I take this and pinch, and I'm going to push really hard, because this leather is really tough, right? And then while I'm holding this, I'm going to shape it. Whatever shape you make, it will stay. There we go. I like that a lot. And see this little tab up here? That little tab, I didn't fold that. I didn't pinch it. I left it out at the top, and then I have the option to use it or not use it later, and I'll show you why. But I'm trying to get this fairly flat to hold a cabochon. So I can't glue this right now because the leather's wet. but I want to make sure that it's going to be flat in that area when I glue it. You don't want it too curved, right? I want to make sure that it's fairly flat. See how I've got that kind of flat right there at the middle of it. All right, we're going to set this aside, and I'll show you what happens when they dry. All these little pieces were made with that stiff leather. I wet them, and can you see the difference in color? And that's because there's water in there right now, but it will dry back to its natural color. But this is holding its shape. See how it holds its shape like that? So I can make earrings or pendants out of all of these. Let me show you how I can add a bail to this one. I have several options. The first one is punch a hole in the side of it and run a jump ring through. Another option is I took this little head pin that has a little diamond sort of rhinestone on the tip of it right there, and I punctured a hole through this way, right through the back of it, and then made a loop with this head pin. And I'll show you the package. I got these at the craft store. 2-inch head pins with a little rhinestone in the top. And another option is to punch that hole in that tab, which is what I did on this one. It's kind of hard to see the tab, it's in there. And I just did a pinch bail. That can be done on either style. So we have lots of options. Let me show you how I did it with the leather punch. And I took the smallest one, the little tiniest one, I think it's the 5/64 punch, and see, you just squeeze and punch a hole. Let me show you on a piece of leather. I would just put that in there and you squeeze, and it doesn't take much effort at all, and see, it punches a little hole in it. So for this, if I punch it just like put it right in there, sometimes it's off center because of the way it's pinched. So I just have to make sure it's really lined up. Otherwise you get too close to the edges. I don't want to be too close. Okay, I think I've got it. I'm going to punch this. Super easy. I now have a hole through it. See that hole? And I didn't get too close to this edge or this edge. So that's good. Now I would take a jump ring and split it open. Slide it through. Close it up. Now I like taking a second jump ring and adding it on. So now I could add my necklace onto it. And I would glue my glass piece. So maybe I'll do that one. So remember, on these hard leather ones, you have to wait until they're dry, until they're not wet anymore. And then you can, if you want, you can glue that if you want, but you can glue in your glass cabochon. So a little dollop of glue on the back. Place it right where you want it. Can't move it around too much because then you will see the glue. Okay, you can add a chain to that one and it's done. See how these earrings are made the same way? I punched a little hole, added a jump ring, and then added the earring wire. I will tell you, that little tip was a little much on the earring, so I nipped it off so that this jump ring that I added right here would move freely. If you want to punch a hole in that little tab that we left, you would just check all sides, make sure it's not too thin. And see how I've added a hole to the top. I still want this to dry, so I'm going to put that back on. And now I can add the jump ring to that little tab, that little hole, or I can add the pinch bail. In this case, I did the pinch bail on that tab because I felt the bail wasn't going to be seen if I did it on the leaf. If I did it inside the leaf, I would miss some of that bail. So I made that little tab, and I was really happy I did. Now, something I wanted to talk about is if you don't have this tool, but you still want to punch a hole through it, you can use a big sewing needle. It's going to take a little work, but it works. You can use a push pin. Just get it started, put it down on your wood and push, push, push. Actually works. Or you can use your Dremel with a really pointy bit on it. And again, put it on some sort of wood that you don't care about. Put your Dremel bit in there and just drill away and drill a little hole in it. Or you can use a drill bit too. Little tiny fine drill bit. So plenty of options, and you end up with some really gorgeous pieces that showcase your glass. So I hope this inspires you to try something new. So I'll be sure and put a link to as many of these items as I can so that you can try and do this. So I hope you give this a try, and I'd love to see what you make. So post pictures and let me know about them because I'd love to see them. So thanks for watching. Be cool, honey bunnies. Bye.